And we are live on YouTube. So, yep. And welcome to another edition of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Stables Network, the show that provides research and statistics all about the Detroit and Michigan sports teams, whether fans like it or not, and detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts and truth that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Frank Vashner and Ed Smith. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. Follow Frank Vashner on Twitter at Frank_Vashner. And follow Ed Smith on Twitter Periscope, and Instagram at EdSmith313. Still trying to get him on here. Follow the show on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Also, like its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Check out its website, the MichiganSportsTruthPodcast.com, and scour the Stables Network's new website, primetime.thestablesnetwork.com, and subscribe to its YouTube channel. We are live on YouTube right now. Also, like the Stables Network on Facebook, which will be up sometime a little bit later on this week. And follow it on Twitter and Periscope at Stables Network. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers, nor does it represent or compete against any of the mainstream media in the state of Michigan. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden facts, truth, and statistics about them, because the truth is out there. So let's see. Ed's trying to log in, but he's having a little bit of trouble. We're going to keep trying to get him in. We promise here. Lots of topics going on here. Lots of topics to discuss, including Cassius Winston having his brother Zachary died. Zachary passed away after getting hit by a train.
We
also got Michigan State at Michigan after Breck. You want to help Ed here? Just a second here. Okay, he's in. Good.
It looks like he's in.
Yep. All right. He's in. So we'll talk about Michigan State football blowing a 28-3 lead and losing to Illinois 37-34. Let's see here. So we'll also preview Michigan State at Michigan. Also a little Michigan roster update on running back Chris Evans. Just 1 second here. Ed Smith on his end can't hear anything. Breck, you want to help him out? But we're talking. Just a minute. We're having technical difficulties.
I'm trying to get him on.
Yeah,
I'm working on that.
Yeah, we'll also talk about college basketball. Michigan here, holding off at Creighton. We'll also preview the recap the Lions-Bears game. Matthew Stafford's injury, also Brian Lewerke's injury. We're going to compare the two that are actually in. Oh, all right. Ed Smith is in. Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. Just making sure everybody can hear me properly.
Got you loud and clear, Ed.
No problem.
All right, good. Yep. We are live on YouTube. So we're gonna, like I just said, we're gonna recap the Lions-Bears game and Matthew Stafford's injury. Also preview the Dallas Cowboys. Also, the passing of Charles Rogers. Also, recap and preview the week ahead for both the Red Wings and the Pistons. Some injury updates on Patrick Nemeth and Justin Abdelkader, and calling up Jonathan Erickson. Oh no!
Oh
And,
God!
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, really. Also, Kyrie Thomas undergoing surgery, and the trade rumors involving Tigers starting pitcher Matt Boyd. So let's go ahead and get to it. We've already killed like 5+ minutes or so. So Cassius Winston, tough stuff to deal with after realizing his brother Zachary got hit by a train and passed away by it. But Cassius Winston, willing to play his heart out, got 17 and 11 boards in a 101-47 win at home over Binghamton, MSU's first win of the season. Cassius Winston, not perfect, not necessarily perfect, but just playing his heart out. He did well, 17 and 11. You got to feel for Cassius Winston. Frank, we'll start with you.
Well, I will say that from all the stuff that I did see from Cassius Winston's social media accounts, and even some of the videos I saw of him actually playing, I can't lie to you guys, it was kind of tough to read some of the stuff that he had to say, because it did sound like that his brother unfortunately did have some issues that went on. And I mean, I'll get to more of that later, but I mean, you do have to feel good for Cassius, just willing to go out there and play in the memory of his brother, and the way that he did, and just having everybody rally behind him, all of his teammates. Because I mean, look, they all thought of his brother Zachary as kind of a friend of the team as well. I mean, when I heard about this, I thought he wasn't going to play. So, losing a family member like that, I'm not going to say I know what that's like, because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I would have understood if he wouldn't have played. But I think he realized, said, my brother wanted me to play, and he went out and played very well. And that's good to see. His teammates are all staying with him to help him through this tough process. And I just hope that he can just go all out this year, turn in just an incredible season, and while playing for his brother.
Yep. Just an emotional performance. Ed, follow up.
Yeah, it's definitely emotional for certain. And, think about what the mindset you have to be to block out that type of impactful tragedy happening to you personally in your own personal life. Still be able to go focus and maintain enough focus to go out and still play. I think it says a lot about Cassius as a person, not just as a player, but also as a person, how he's able to take all that in and not let that throw off his game. Now, obviously, there's going to be some moments where he's going to have some time to himself to really grieve, to really mourn, to really think over what has happened. But, so far he has found a way to keep it from being a personal distraction for him on the court, which, granted, for a professional athlete, we've seen this many times in many instances from different sports, but still, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So you have to commend Cassius for trying to put on a brave front. And you would have to think, with the way Coach Izzo is with his players, especially with his seniors, he's given Cassius the right amount of space and time that he needs to deal with his issues as well. So obviously, prayers go out to Cassius and his family for this time. And, it's a bad situation. You hope you can do your best to grieve, mourn, and then try to move on as best as possible.
Yep, absolutely. So looking at Michigan State basketball's schedule as of right now, they're 1-1. They play Seton Hall upcoming, as we take a look at the schedule right here. The scores. Yep, they play Seton Hall
tomorrow night at 8:30. No, tomorrow night at 8:30.
Yeah, tomorrow night at 8:30. Yep, on FS1.
Yeah.
It's at Seton Hall, 12th ranked. The Spartans are third ranked, as we recall, after their loss to Kentucky a week ago, 8 days ago, 69-62 in the State Farm Champions Classic. It a bit of an iffy start, but it was not. It did not end up as a rout as like we talked about. It's only the first game of the season. That we knew they were not going to be ranked number one anyway. That was just a mistake, and it's not the first time that the AP poll has done this in favor of Michigan State, which just because they have depth. But anyway, Michigan State football, the Spartans had a 28-3 lead, and then they allowed a touchdown before halftime, still to lead 28-10 at halftime. And then it was all downhill from here. Their offense just fell flat. They only settled for 2 field goals. They didn't even they still did not even score a touchdown when they could have by the closest chance ever, and they fumbled the football. Actually almost fumbled the football, but they settled for a field goal at least. They were at the 1 yard line early in the third quarter when they had Illinois by the throat with a 28-10 lead at that point. But Illinois kept storming back, and they won 37-34 to the Illini. Another 9 and 10 personality, that Lawrence Scafidi by name. Shout out goes to her. She's an Illinois alum. Congratulations to her Illini, by the way. But Michigan State just now falls to 4-5, while Illinois, the Illini are bowl bound. They're 6-4. Wow. Don't count out Illinois. They're not that bad. They're not as bad as they used to be, the Illini. Lovie Smith, the head coach, he's had NFL coaching experience with the NFL, at least one trip to the Super Bowl. Wow. So, yeah, Frank Vazur, we'll start with you again. This is, as a Michigan State Spartan fan, this has got to be really frustrating. But you pointed out that the athletic director has to go first before the head coach and the coaching staff. So take it away.
Well, look, to say that I'm frustrated would be an understatement. But look, there's probably a time I would have yelled and screamed and likely broken something, but I didn't end up doing that. And I've just been, look, as a fan, I've pretty much checked out on the season. I've got other things to occupy my time with. I'm still going to just look at results and all, just so I can do my research for this very podcast. So I have material. But look, this is one that falls squarely on the coaching staff. You've got to lead 28-3, and then blowing it like that, especially getting up 27 points in the fourth quarter, for God's sake. There is no excuse for it. I'm sorry. This falls squarely on Mark D'Antonio and the rest of his staff. And look, I know I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, going ahead to Brian Lewerke, and him getting kicked in the head and not taking him out of the game and checking him for concussion. That's malfeasance on the training staff. He should have been in concussion protocol, but he said, "I'm fine. I'll last. I'll play." That's where you gotta say, Your health and well-being is gonna come first. We're gonna at least check you out, because he even admitted that he felt kind of a little out of it. He looked out of it too, especially through a couple of bad interceptions. So again, that's another black mark on the coaching staff. As for other players, look, I know Elijah Collins turned in a nice game, $170 on the ground and 2 scores. But all in all, it's pretty much wiped out by just an absolutely poor performance. And even defensively, too, they got torched, which doesn't surprise me, because I know coming in. They thought this defense was going to be good. I'm starting to think that we were sold a bill of goods. And I would say right now, I would not be shocked that if the next game in Ann Arbor looks very reminiscent of 2002, because I'm starting to wonder if this team has actually quit. Because apparently I've heard some chatter. I'm not going to say who I heard it from or if it's true, that there's a lot of dissent between guys who are actually going out there and busting their ass and guys who aren't pulling their weight. And that's just going to get worse and worse if you don't solve it now. Now, as for what you mentioned about Bill Beekman going, I'm highly dissatisfied with Beekman as athletic director because he comes out Friday and says firing Mark D'Antonio is not even a question at this point. Well, you got to take a look at where this football team is going. This program is a good moneymaker, probably second behind basketball. And you're just going to let it rot away and disintegrate into nothing and not do anything. I'm sorry. If that's going to be the case, then maybe Beekman shouldn't be the AD. They got to get somebody in who's willing to be proactive. As for who, I'm not really sure. I know there a couple of my Friday Night Victors cohorts mentioned maybe D'Antonio will get promoted to athletic director. I don't think so. I don't think he's cut out for that job. I mean, if there's one guy who's at the university who I wouldn't be mad if he got the AD, probably Kevin Palga, who does some work with the basketball team. I can't remember if he's the SID or something similar to that role, but I mean, I think he's kind of a younger guy. He at least has some new ideas. I wouldn't be but again, just a disclaimer, this is just me spitballing here. This isn't anything official or stuff like that. This is just me throwing ideas out there, guys. So that being said, I mean, I know, Ed, you might take great joy in this since you're a Michigan fan, but I think that Saturday is going to resemble 2002 when Michigan beat Michigan State 49-3. And, I would not be shocked if Harbaugh tries to run the score up. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. They're going to want to get their pound of flesh. Go ahead. I think this team is lifeless. They've quit. They don't want to play for each other. There's division amongst players and coaches. It's going to be pretty ugly.
Yep. Ed, won't you agree?
I will say that even though as a Michigan fan, there is a small sadistic part of me that does enjoy seeing what's going on with Michigan State right now. I also am a human being first and foremost, and I can also empathize of what's going on with you right now, man, with you and your team right now, what you're going through, because I recognize the position because I've been in this before. 2014 was not that too far long ago because you had a situation where the program was in shambles. The coach was in a position to where it was time for him to go. The AD, the athletic director, clearly had to go. And even when you mentioned with Brian Lewerke, let's not forget
Shane Morris.
The Shane Morris debacle that took place against Minnesota. That was the biggest catalyst that not only led to Brady Hoke being let go, but also Dave Brandon leaving, which, of course, with Dave Brandon gone, that opened the door big time for Jim Harbaugh to come through. But I digress. The athletic director needing to go, listen, between so many other issues and scandals and everything that has affected not just the athletic program, but the entire university over the past several years, or few years, I should say, you may need some type of scorched earth scenario or strategy to where, you start over everything with a clean slate. Now, obviously, I'm not saying clean house, get rid of Izzo or anything. That's just too ridiculous and stupid. But with D'Antonio clearly seeming to be on his way out, and this is being as ugly to an end as possible, you got to find some way to start fresh next season. because that was just what we saw last Saturday against Illinois was the lowest of the low. And you thought it couldn't get any lower. It just has. And what turnovers and when's the last time you've ever heard of a Mark D'Antonio team, aside from say getting destroyed by Alabama in the playoff? When have you ever heard of an MSU team led by Mark D'Antonio giving up that many points in a quarter, let alone in the fourth of a game that they were handily winning? You never hear that happening. So that is just a perfect example.
Like I said, that's some John L. Smith crap right there.
Exactly. That's John L. That's Bobby Williams. That is,
Brady Hoke.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into this game fully in terms of X's and O's, strategies, and whatnot. But I mean, the players, they can put on a brave face as much as possible, but I just don't see this one ending well. I mean, like you said, who's to say they haven't quit on D'Antonio already? I get it. Michigan is coming up. They're going to try to put all their eggs in this one basket, but I'm sorry. You've already have issues to your death, whether it be injuries or transfers. That's number one. Number two, granted, Harbaugh has taken his fair share of criticism, whether it be implementing or not implementing the right changes to the offensive scheme, but at least he's gone out there and done what is necessary to, make the right changes. Get a guy like Josh Gaddis let him be more hands-on with the offense. D'Antonio has done none of that. So that's another reason why they're in the spot they're in right now. So this was easy to avoid if they had just done the simple things, then they wouldn't be in this muck that they're in. But D'Antonio, to a fault, it's his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. He's a stubborn ass. So,
very
I'm not going
stubborn.
to disagree with it. I won't disagree with that statement.
I mean, I hate to use the term "what goes around comes around," but let's not forget the famous quote he once used:
"Pride comes before the fall."
The fall.
Use it all you want, Ed.
It's coming full circle. It's weird to say, but it's like a full circle thing. I never thought I would see today the way D'Antonio had been, especially at his apex during his tenure, to see it end like this, go out the way Bobby Williams did, go out the way John L. did. But it's lining up the way the stars are aligning, the planets are aligning to where we're going to see that type of situation happening. And it's going to be in Ann Arbor, a place where Harbaugh has not beaten MSU at home. He's gotten a couple road wins. But remember, between the bad snap in 2015 and the monsoon rain game in 2017, Harbaugh's going to have a lot of aggression built up to probably not just win, but really pour it on. Because we know how much of a red-ass Harbaugh can be. So you think he's going to take sympathy on Mark D'Antonio? Hell no.
Yeah, I know. This pride comes before the fall thing is becoming a lot more only cliche, may I add. Just more cliche, which means nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it's just old. It's just dust in the wind. It'll soon become water under the bridge. It's just absolutely nothing. D'Antonio can keep his pride all he wants, but it's not going to do him any good. He's got to start using his head to save his job and stop being stubborn. So that's the only way he can dig himself out of this hole.
But the way things going, Taylor, I just don't see it happening.
I didn't think so. No,
I don't either. I mean, look, the only game where I think they have a legitimate chance of winning the rest of the season is probably Rutgers, and that's because Rutgers is one of the 10 worst teams in America. In fact, I mean, honestly, I'm having a harder time seeing this team beat Maryland, even though Maryland is a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Absolutely. But speaking of Michigan, running back Chris Evans is going to be reinstated for January 2020, just less than 2 months away, month and a half away, after being ineligible due to academic issues. But great to have Chris Evans back. Ed, you want to?
Yeah, I will say having missing his home run ability, his ability to break off big plays and big runs, and give you big chunks or score touchdowns at a moment's notice, that has been missing an element of that has been missing from
Okay.
this offense to complement what they're trying to do with running the ball, protecting the ball, and Shea Patterson being the game manager. You need that home run running back. But they've done an adequate job, I felt, with the core that they have with Charbonnet and Haskins and even True Wilson to a degree. Now, here's the thing, though. The guys that I mentioned, I know Charbonnet and Haskins are still going to be here. I think Wilson is a senior, so I guess that would open up a spot for Evans should he want to come back. But, even when he's made eligible, does he choose to stay in Michigan, or does he open up his possibilities to put himself in the transfer pool? You never know. That's always a possibility here because he has to be aware of how Charbonnet is developing and Haskins is developing to where, there may not be room in the game plan or in the rotation for Evans to get the meaningful snaps that he wants or may desire. So that's always that possibility as well. But still, if he's able to join and be welcomed back into the team, that's going to be an extra bonus for this offense for next season. That's for certain.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's make. Yeah, I think we've already made a prediction for Michigan and Michigan State. Frank made a prediction that Michigan's going to crush Michigan State 49-3. Ed,
I didn't
you're
think
going to
it's going to be
predict
49 to
about the
3.
same.
I think it's going to be similar. I'll say probably more like 40. I'll say 48. I'll say 48-6.
Here's the thing, though: if I had more trust that Michigan's passing ability could torch MSU's secondary, I would be predicting a more 40-point victory. But I think it's going to start out slow, but eventually Michigan's running game will pound it out, and it won't be as big of a blowout, but they'll pull away late. So I'll say 28. I'll say 35-7. But if Harbaugh really feels like being a douche that day, he'll turn it on. He'll turn it up.
Yeah, I'm going to range it and go 42-7.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 42-6, because probably 42-10.
Yeah, because I could see a garbage time touchdown being scored.
Yep. Way too little, way too late. Michigan State at Michigan, Saturday at noon on Fox. Michigan 14th in the AP poll, 15th in the college football playoff poll. Then they got Indiana and then Ohio State. Still actually number 3 in the college football playoff rankings. Is that right? Oh, wait. Is that right? Or is it 2?
Ohio State's number 2.
They were number 2. Okay. Yeah.
They were number 1 last week, but then LSU jumped in after LSU beat Alabama.
They still have the number one defense to the Buckeyes. That's the thing I fear that could stop Michigan's offense in Ann Arbor.
They'll more than likely have Chase Young too, since
they will have Chase Young back. He did get. They reduced the suspension to 2 games. He'll sit out Saturday against Rutgers, and he will be back for Penn State.
Exactly. So more than likely, you're going to see OSU at full strength at their best.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's good analysis.
Hey,
that's very.
If you want to beat them, that you would prefer to be in that situation, so that nobody will be saying or will be trying to hang some type of BS asterisk. Some people will do that anyway because they say, "Oh, you didn't beat Urban Meyer," but I don't care. Okay, when you only had 2 wins against this team in this century, you'll take them when you can get them.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter what coach. It's time for revenge. But you gotta play smart. You gotta play sound. You gotta have everything against Ohio State. They're an elite team, just like Alabama and LSU and Clemson.
Cannot turn the ball over.
No, can't even fumble the ball over and still keep it either. Nope. You have to be perfect.
Patterson's done a good job setting the ball, but this will be his biggest test for certain.
Absolutely. He's got to work on securing the ball every single time. Don't even fumble any snaps.
And I'll say this too. I think Ohio State in that game will do everything they can to put it on Shea Patterson's shoulders. So Ed, truthfully, I think it may have to come down to Shea Patterson making plays
Yep, because they're
Which
gonna
I know-
stack the box. They're gonna stack the box to stop Charbonnet and Haskins. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
incumbent upon Shea Patterson to make the right plays at the right time.
Yep,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
basically it's your man up or shut up game.
Yeah. Indiana, by the way, is ranked 24th now. Can you believe that? 24th in the AP poll.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, Indiana has always been a headache one way or another, so it doesn't surprise me to see them ranked that high. So,
Yeah.
They've worked their way up.
mhm,
And I
definitely.
expected them to too. Yikes.
Exactly. Indiana
Oh.
has not been the doormat that they have been in recent years. So that's
Yeah.
good on them.
More like a moving block in the road. Jeez.
All right. If anything, this Michigan will definitely need to win that one to keep away any faint hopes of a division title, I believe. Because
To do so, they'll have to keep improving against Indiana, and then keep working their way up to the top against Ohio State at home.
Exactly. Quick question: there's no mathematical way that they somehow win the East Division, right? Unless what for Michigan? I'm talking about Michigan's chances.
Well, Ohio State would have to lose to Penn State or Rutgers, which we know the latter is not going to happen at all.
Right.
They'd have to lose to Penn State and Columbus. Like, I just don't see that happening. And then Michigan would obviously have to beat them.
So, but wouldn't you need another Penn State loss since they have, I guess, that quote unquote tiebreaker against Michigan?
I believe you are correct on that, Ed. In fact, Indiana plays at Penn State this Saturday, and I'm going to.
Oh God, go Hoosiers!
I can't believe. And then Penn State has the season against Rutgers, so they're for sure not losing that game.
Oh God,
yeah.
one down, count on.
Yeah,
Rutgers.
that'll make them cocky at least. That'll make the Buckeyes a little cocky at least.
God, could you imagine the week before Michigan they lost to Rutgers? Oh
boy.
Oh. Yeah, it would actually be the week before Penn State.
Right, that too. But oh my goodness.
The way Michigan lost to Rutgers, they had Brady Hoke as their head coach, didn't they?
Yeah, that was in 2014. Yeah, that was Rutgers' first year in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that was Hoke's final year. That signaled the beginning of the end.
Minnesota. Oddly enough, that was the last time Rutgers was actually worth two dead flies.
Oh,
they weren't great, but I mean they also weren't terrible. They were decent. I think they made a bowl game that year.
Yeah. So speaking of Michigan, their basketball team held off Creighton 79-69 as seen on FS1. Ed, you want to give a little analysis on that? Michigan's defense did pretty well. John Teske doing his thing as usual, business as usual. So go ahead.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this team is going to work with each game throughout the season. With the switch over between John Beilein to Juwan Howard, of how Juwan Howard is going to implement his style, his game plan, his X's and O's. I think you're seeing that little by little throughout these performances. Good effort, great effort in the second half against Creighton. Defense really stepped up. I think offense just, what I saw early on in the first half, too many turnovers, far too many turnovers for my liking. Xavier Simpson, he's the point guard. He's the senior. He's the leader of that. He's got help maintain a better control on that himself, not just for himself, but the rest of the team. Teske, I really liked how he's come along, but, you still have to wonder, losing the weapons that you've had, losing Jordan Poole, losing Mo Wagner, losing even Brazdeikis, I believe.
The NBA draft.
Exactly. So losing those weapons is going to put more focus on Teske, and you have to wonder: is he ready to handle that type of increased role, increased pressure? That's yet to remain seen. So that's an X factor to look at as well. You still have some familiar players. Isaiah Livers is still there. The aforementioned Simpson and Teske that I mentioned. So you still have some pieces, but clearly, when you lose the guys that I mentioned, you're going to take a little bit of a hit. You're going to take a little bit of a step back. So. Given that it is Coach Howard's first year, You want to see how much can he coach up to his team to where they may be
Good point.
overplaying or overachieving to an extent. Think about how the 2011, 2012 teams were under Beeline, to where they were overachieving, but you saw where they had promising glimpses of the future. So I could see that happening in the season, to where no, I'm not expecting a Big Ten title contention, but if they, let's say, finish top 4 within the conference and got out of the first weekend, that'll be a pretty good ceiling for how for Juwan Howard would do in his first year as coach, because we're not expecting anything big right away, even though it is a name and it's alumni and it is Michigan and it's replacing the greatest coach you've had in the modern era, in your modern
John
history,
Beilein.
with John Beilein. So there's also that to pay attention to, but we'll see how it goes. This is Coach Howard. Juwan Howard. He's learning this step by step, game by game. So we definitely got to see how he progresses in that field.
Yeah, not to mention they have to work on Brooks learning to hang on to the basketball. I've seen him lose the basketball like at least a couple times in that Creighton game. It kind of lost it out. He was having trouble corralling the basketball with both hands, and he had to either just lose it out of bounds or probably just commit a foul.
Yeah, there were also some bad passes too, like from the team in general, not just him.
They got to start working on developing him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they got time. The season's still young, so that's a whole several months ahead of them to get that worked out.
Definitely, absolutely.
Hey Ed, I wanted to just highlight some stuff on Michigan's schedule. I mean, they got a couple of easy games against Elan and Houston Baptist, which they should take care of business in those. But I think their first real test is actually going to come the day before Thanksgiving. They're going to be playing Iowa State in the battle for Atlantis. I'm not really sure who's all in that field, but I think you're really going to see it's going to be a good test to see what they're made of.
Yeah, so a good measuring stick game. Yeah, you want to see those in your first year. So Juwan Howard's going to get a good number of those, especially when you get into conference schedule season.
Well, also in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, they have to go to play at Louisville. That's really going to be a bear.
That'll be nice.
Yeah,
yep.
So, I mean, hey, it's games where they're going to have to man up. I know they played. Louisville's a big one in the Big Ten ACC Challenge on the road. They also host Oregon on December 14th. Well,
nothing with Duke, even though it's Big Ten ACC.
No, they got Louisville in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Yeah, Michigan State's got to play Duke in East Lansing.
Yep.
You wonder how, if and when they'll schedule any future meetings with Michigan and Duke, knowing Juwan Howard's history against Duke personally. You have to think that's in the back of the mind of some of these schedule makers.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if something like that happens down the road.
Right, but as for those easy games, you can't take those opponents too lightly. Plus, another thing to consider, they can work on Brooks's player development while they play those easy games against Elan and Houston Baptist, for example. They can just work on him while they play the non-conference season out before the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
And you're absolutely right, Taylor. You can never really take your opponent lightly these days. I mean, Case in point, look what just happened to Kentucky. So,
exactly, lost to Evansville at home.
Oh boy,
number 1 Kentucky at that.
Goodness gracious. Well, so I guess that makes Michigan State number 2 next week. The Spartans, Tom Izzo. So yeah, let's move on to the Lions losing to the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, 20-13. Very unfortunate news. Matthew Stafford, broken parts in his back. He absolutely had to sit out. This is like the same situation right before Mark D'Antonio and Brian Lewerke, just recently this week, that was probably Sunday before this past Sunday. Matthew Stafford says he's good after Matt Patricia checked on him. Mark D'Antonio did the same thing with Brian Lewerke a few days later, but it's just the same miscommunication issue between for the team of Mark D'Antonio and Brian Lewerke and the team of Matt Patricia and Matthew Stafford. Almost like miscommunication tag teams in wrestling. Yeah, but he had fractured bones in his back, did Matthew Stafford. So Jeff Driscoll started. He didn't do too great, to say the least. He marched his offense down the field only to settle for 2 field goals in the first half, and then they fell behind 7-6 at halftime, and then they gave up 2 extra touchdowns, one of them being without an extra point, and they trailed 20-6. And then Jeff Driscoll started throwing a deep ball to, I think Kenny Galladay or Marvin Jones Jr., one of the two, but it was a 48-yard touchdown.
It was a 47-yard to Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I had it right the first time. Thank you. Yeah, it was a 48-yard bomb to Kenny Galladay, but after that, the Lions had 2 chances in the end, and they blew them. That's all Jeff Driscoll could do, and the Lions are going to have to count on him against Dallas. But they're in deep sludge without Matthew Stafford, and Ed, you pointed it out right. Matthew Stafford, he deserves at least 1 MVP vote, and that's just saying something about this Lions franchise, that they're absolutely going nowhere without Matthew Stafford. But there's not going to be a Matthew Stafford forever on the Lions team anyway. And the Lions are still the Lions, more importantly. So
exactly. Yeah. And I've been mentioning this to you, Taylor, for years now. This team will go as far as Matthew Stafford will take them. And you're seeing that play out exactly as I have, expected and in some ways feared, because for years you have seen the Lions not take care of this issue properly. They've drafted guys early on only to let them go, or they've brought guys over off of waivers to not properly use them or even get them a second spot. So, eventually a time and scenario and situation will come up to where if Stafford went down, you'd be screwed. And now we're seeing that play out here. Stafford with his injury, I think it may be a lingering issue from last year. Because did he get surgery to rectify that or no?
I don't think he did.
See, there's nothing. If he didn't get surgery, that could be some lingering effects from last year as well. So then you're maybe looking into an aspect where Stafford could be potentially cutting his career a little bit shorter if he decides to implement and go into back surgery to fix this issue, because you don't want to keep this happening on and off now for the next several years. So if you're Stafford, do you take a risk and get that surgery now, knowing it may be shortening your career? That's the tough decision for him to grapple with. You can tell also, you can tell the look on his face. He was incensed, heated that he was not able to play. It was killing him that he was not able to play. I mean, he has played through messed up fingers, ankle injuries, knee injuries, foot injuries, you name it. I've always kept comparing him to Brett Favre because he reminded me so much of Favre, not just how he plays, play style, how he just throws the ball and everything, but also playing through injury. Because let's not forget, the first couple seasons of Matthew Stafford's career, he was being labeled as fragile, as a China doll, as someone who couldn't take a hit. And what have we seen now for the past 7-8 years now? Him being there consistently every single week, game in and game out, no matter what. So I think, for it to come to this, it's just, it just shows to where they're obviously the Lions are looking out for their franchise quarterback's best intentions, but also the situation is a reminder like, hey, listen, it's a wake up call to where number 9 is not going to be here forever. So, granted, you have other spots and pieces on this roster that needs repair, but the biggest one that you're going to need in today's NFL, you're going to need a quarterback. And if this wasn't a reminder that you need to start potentially investing into who's going to be getting the keys to the kingdom once Matthew Stafford is no longer able to do it, you better get to work on that because, nothing against Jeff Driscoll, but he's Jeff Driscoll. You're going to need someone to take over the reins when Matthew Stafford hangs him up. So,
yeah. And they should have put Matthew Stafford out late last season after they were knocked out of playoff contention. That's what I was trying to point out earlier. I let you finish talking, but but they let him play, and now they put him out at the wrong time. Except they had to put him out because Stafford is having serious issues with his back again, probably even worse this time.
Yeah, so now it comes to a point where, to me, knowing where things are at, where your record is, and how the season has gone so far, just shut it down. Just shut Stafford down. Get you a more serviceable guy off the street or whatever. No, listen, I'm Team Kaepernick, but even I'm saying no. Don't bring Colin Kaepernick into this mess, please. Do not. And
No.
You consider the season a wash. It's a loss, and you get ready for the draft. And then I think you should seriously consider taking a quarterback in the first round. That's how deadly serious this issue was. That's how anemic and how alerting this past Sunday was, to where I'm seriously saying, yeah, you may need to take a QB in the first round or at least in the second round.
Yeah. So absolutely. The Lions 3-5-1. Quick prediction on the Cowboys game. The Lions are not going to score very many points even at home. I'm going to pick. Let's analyze the Cowboys first. Ed, we'll start with you.
Well, if there was two things you need to know about the Cowboys, it was this: Zeke Elliott being Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott doing his usual thing. Zeke Elliott has not been his usual self for this season. So even though, he has not been vintage Zeke, I would expect the Lions, if you're smart, the game plan on making sure that he's not the reason you lose. If you're going to lose because of Dak Prescott throwing the ball, you take your chances on that. If you let Zeke loose, you have no shot. So I expect the Lions to do their best to contain Zeke Elliott. Their defense as a whole, though, especially their secondary, has been far disappointing to where, A, I don't expect them to get pressure on Dak, and B, I do think their secondary is going to be a major part in their downfall in this one. And also, when the fact on offense, you can't run the ball to begin with. Your starting running back is now on IR, and now your starting quarterback is down, possibly out for the year. What the hell else can you do on offense, really? And the Cowboys, they got some good stud players on that defense as well. So I really, even though it's at home, I just don't see the Lions finding a way to pull this off. Now, if you had Stafford, that's another story because, like I said, you always have a chance with Stafford, but he's not there. Your running game was already horrifically anemic, and your defense has been terribly disappointing. So when you mixed all those elements together, and you tell me, oh yeah, no Matthew Stafford, I am just hoping that the Cowboys don't make this too much of an embarrassment. So my final prediction is going to be Dallas 28, Detroit 13.
Frank, follow up. I'll give you 1 minute before we go to Red Wings.
I pretty much agree with that. It's going to be a 28-13 type of game. I don't trust Jeff Driscoll in a big spot like this. And one guy I did forget to mention was Amari Cooper, because that's the guy Dak Prescott will throw the ball to. And
yep.
I think ever since the Cowboys acquired Cooper, that pass attack has just been day and night. And plus, you got to find a way to slow down Zeke, which I don't think they're able to as well. So I think the Cowboys will win it. I'm actually going to go say 30. I'll say 31-13.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to go 24-13 Dallas. 24-13 Cowboys. I'm going to go with the boys on this one. So Lions are going to fall to 3-6-1 nonetheless. So Cowboys 5-3, 5-4. Yeah, they're somewhere over 500. So let's. Yeah. By the way, former Michigan State and Lions wide receiver Charles Rogers passed away at 38 from liver failure. He was a number 2 overall pick from the 2003 draft by the Lions. Yeah, you didn't hear. Yeah, I'm sure you both heard about that too. But
Yeah, I heard it was passing. I just didn't know it was liver failure. My goodness.
Yeah, he had liver failure, and he also had a form of cancer as well.
Cancer. Oh, that's worse. Way worse. Yeah.
Prayers go to his family for sure.
Yeah, condolences. Don't forget condolences.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
absolutely.
So Red Wings, they trade Jake De La Rose to the Blues for Robbie Fabry. Yeah. And Fabry got 3 goals in his 3 points in his last 2 games before the Anaheim game. The Red Wings win 3 in a row. Yeah, Frank.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll kind of harken back to what both Todd Faber and I both said. Steve Yzerman is not afraid to shake the tree, and he obviously did that by trading for Robbie Fabry, and that trade has paid dividends. I mean, his first game, he ends up with 2 goals against the Boston Bruins. They beat the Bruins 4-2. And then on Sunday, they end up beating the Vegas Golden Knights 3-2. And Fabry, I believe, picked up a point in that one. And then, of course, last night, they ended up beating the Ducks in overtime on a goal by Dennis Cholowski, who I have to say again, that's a player that a lot of us thought was going to have a lot of trouble and was going to be a bust. But I'll say I'm happy to be wrong about him. He played fairly well. And also need to mention that Fabry had an assist.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, he's provided some offense. He's playing on the second line, which is good. He's going out there doing some good work. I'm not saying the winning. I don't think is going to continue on and on and on because the rest of their West Coast trip, they do have to play the Kings, who are god awful, and they also have to play the Sharks, who have been struggling as well. I mean, I think he's made the team better, but again, I'm looking for individual development. He's somebody who's helping things get better. Now, on the injury front, I do know that Patrick Nemeth was put on IR, so that's why Jonathan Harrison was recalled. So who knows how long that's going to be for. And, of course, Giovanni Smith that was brought up prior to last night's game because Justin Advocator was hurt as well.
Yep, good point.
Affect them too much. So it's good. It's good to see that Steve's being proactive, shaking the tree. I mean, how long is this going to last? Truthfully, I don't know. And, of course, as I mentioned, their next game will be I think it's tomorrow night.
They got the Kings tomorrow night.
Kings,
at Staples Center. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Then they got the San Jose Sharks at SAP Center Saturday at 10:30. And they return home against the Ottawa Senators Tuesday at 7:30. The Pistons they just keep losing. 112 to 106 at the Indiana Pacers, and 120 to 114 to the Timberwolves, and 117 to 108 to the Miami Heat. The Pistons trailed by as many as over 20 against the Heat last night. They're at Charlotte against the Hornets Friday at 7 at Chicago, Wednesday at 8 against the Bulls. Kyrie Thomas, their guard, underwent surgery in a 5th metatarsal, a bone of his right foot, out at least 6 weeks. So not much to say about the Pistons.
It's good they got Blake Griffin back, but they need more contributions between more than just him and Dre. I need to see better from Luke Kennard and D Rose and the other guys for sure.
Yeah, at least Luke Kennard has scored over 20 points per game. I like to see
for him.
Do
so
that.
you need to see other players step up. So because we can't.
But even that's not enough. they turn the ball over so many times, and
Yep.
they keep lacking defense. Like I
Yep.
pointed out for several years.
Exactly. Turnovers and defense.
Oh,
You know,
lack,
that, that
lack
that's
thereof.
that's how you keep
Exactly.
that's how you keep losing these close single digit games, not getting the right amount of stops.
One
Like
quick note
Indiana
before
was
we
frustrating. Indiana was beyond frustrating.
One quick note before we turn it over to Todd Faber for 1 minute, Royce Filler. The Tigers are looking to trade one of their starting pitchers, Matt Boyd, and they are a source says the team is looking for an impact bat in return. At least one of you expected it, so we'll have to see what happens. So we're going to turn it over to Todd Faber. You can follow him on Twitter at the Toddcaster, not Shut Up Faber anymore. The Toddcaster with
There
2
you go.
D's. So yeah, I just changed that on my promotion banner. Todd, you got 1 minute. Go.
I will make it quick. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. The Matthew Stafford streak has come to an end due to his back injury. And as we know, he's still questionable for this week's game with Dallas. However, if I were in charge of these things, I would turn the keys over to Jeff Driscoll for the time being until Matthew is safe to take the field. And the reason being, one is his long-term health. He's still the face of the franchise. He's easily the most valuable player on the roster. But the fact is, the season's over. Let's face it. We're locked in. Or if the season ended today, we would be locked in at the number 11 pick. There are 3 outstanding quarterback prospects. Tua will not drop to Detroit, but we have a legitimate shot at both Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, who can step right in and take over the system after Stafford goes to the wayside by injury or age or what have
Retirement.
Retirement, exactly. So it's time to get his successor, and we've got a great opportunity to pick a good one. Gentlemen, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Again, you can follow him on Twitter at the Toddcaster with 2 D's.
You like
that
that
was
one?
Faber's Fillers. Time for your closing statements, gentlemen. Ed, you go first. 1 minute. Go.
Yeah, I think the theme that you're going to see though between now and the next couple of weeks is a lot of things coming full circle. Just like we saw how the tenure of Mark D'Antonio rose up at Michigan State, we may be seeing it come to an end in that same fashion, as an example. So it's just a reminder of how things can always be in a parallel and in a circle. And when you start with one, you end with another, and you end with one, and you started with another. So it's just a metaphor of how things can go around and will go around and will continue to be.
All right, Frank, 1 minute closing statement. Go.
This is going to be in reaction to the tragedy that happened with Cassius Winston's brother, Zachary. I had read reports that he had been dealing with some issues with depression. I saw a few things on his Instagram that kind of led me to believe that. And I'm just going to come out and say, you don't have to be alone if you're going through anything like that, depression or any issues with mental health. You have friends, you have family. They will listen to you. Heck, anyone listening, talk to one of us. We'll listen to you. Talk to me. Talk to Taylor. Talk to Todd. Talk to Ed. Any one of us will listen to you. Just don't go through it alone and get some help.
Yeah, don't be arrogant. So those are our closing statements. One quick shout out goes to my long distance girlfriend, although we never met, Amber Martin. Honey, if you're listening out there, my heart goes out to you, Amber. Hopefully we meet sometime soon. But for now, as we wrap things up, after we wrap it up, I'm gonna watch a DVR Local 32 newscast at 10 o'clock with Megan Viselli. She's a U of M alum. I'm thinking of her too, just as an almost friend. So that being said, I'm rooting for Michigan for her too. So that being said, scour the Stables Network's new website, primetime.thestablesnetwork.com, along with its YouTube channel, and subscribe to it. Also like it on Facebook and follow it on Twitter and at the Stables Network, at Stables Network. Also follow and favorite us. at Michigan_Truth. Like our Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and log on to the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast.com. For Frank, Ed, and Todd, I'm Taylor. We'll talk next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for downloading and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Bon appetit. Hit them with a hot.